Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. In Power Book Force, Tommy Egan, played by Joseph Sikora, is only just beginning to find his footing in Chicago. Though he'd been working on Dahlia with Claudia Flynn, who's played by Lily Simmons, it looks like he's going to have to branch out on his own once again. It also doesn't help that the feds know someone is stirring things up around the Windy City. In Power Book 4, Season 2, Tommy could get arrested. Fans noticed there were some growing pains when it came to Force. The series wasn't exactly seamless, and some of the plot points didn't quite make sense and felt rushed. However, Sikora promises a flawless season 2. Our show is now in the brilliantly capable hands of Gary Lennon, who is now our showrunner. He told TV Line, "I'm overjoyed." Excuse me. The fans have got to be ecstatic. Now you have the true voice of Tommy Egan back. Gary Lennon is the cultivator of that. I could not be more excited about that. However, whatever Gary comes up with, and if that's knocking boots with Claudia, I can only promise that's however twisted that is at this point. It will make sense. Now, as fans know from the season 1 finale, Blanca Rodriguez, who's played by Monique Gabriella Kernan, and the feds in New York are aware of some major criminal activity in Chicago, though they don't know exactly who's behind it yet. We think it's only a matter of time before they discover that Tommy is alive and well. Excuse me. I think, like all things, there's going to have to be an evaluation of who Tommy is, how he's known by the law enforcement. I mean, look at like Tony Arcardo and other mob guys. Sikora told Hollywood Life the feds were onto these guys in the Chicago mob for so long. Even Al Capone had that 8-year run where he was infallible, and he was having dinner with judges. I think that's their corruption. I think that there's corruption at all levels, the streets and the government. But I think that it can be an interesting mix. I think that when the law enforcement, as we saw in the Power show, is on these guys' trails, everybody doesn't have the purest interest anyway. So that could be another fun storyline. How close they get, but it's exciting. I think that it actually mimics life, that there are consequences for everything, and it would be irresponsible storytelling if you didn't show some of those consequences. Still, Tommy has been arrested before and come out unscathed. We doubt an arrest or even jail will be the end of him. Fans were thrilled that Force was renewed since Tommy is only just getting settled in Chicago. It looks like production for the second season is set to begin soon, with the release date slated for February 2023. Real Chicago is reporting that filming is slated to begin in May 2022. Apparently, the majority of the filming will take place at Sign Space if production stays on schedule. Season 2 should premiere in February 2023. It would be nice to see how Tommy and his crew navigate Chicago in the summer. Well, to me, I disagree. I believe that it wasn't rushed or any plot holes. Um, it was good. The show had a great pace. The characters fit right in. So I didn't see the point. But if Tommy Egan is to be arrested, that'll be an interesting plot twist to see how he gets out. You know, to see what angle he can have by slipping out of their grasp. Now, Claudia, we're basically going to see what happens with her. She's basically going to roll with her brother. They're going to get away from their dad. And I think they're going to go at it with Tommy. I think it's going to be war with all of them. So we'll see. Can't wait for season 2. Now, Mahershala Ali's Blade is sure to be different from previous movies featuring Wesley Snipes' version of the title character. Blade last appeared on the big screen in Blade Trinity, the final installment of New Line Cinema's Wesley Snipes led trilogy back in 2004. Nearly 2 decades later, a new incarnation starring Ali as the Dampier vampire hunter will be the focus of a standalone movie from Marvel Studios. A release date has yet to be announced, but many anticipate that it will fill an empty slot available in the studio schedule at the end of 2023. Ali's Blade has already made his MCU debut at the end of Chloe Zhao's 2021 movie Eternals. The character's voice can be heard warning Kit Harington's Dane Whitman, aka Black Knight of the dangerous powers of the sword, known as the Ebony Blade. However, this provided scant evidence as to what audiences can expect from the first full appearance of the new film version of Blade. Now that Disney owns the property, the company has likely altered the comic book source material to make the horror superhero character mesh with the overall tone of the MCU franchise. Although the MCU has had its fair share of violence, each movie made for the franchise so far has maintained a PG-13 rating. In contrast, the Wesley Snipes Blade trilogy is dark and gruesome, with all three installments earning an R rating for blood and violence, among other things. That blood soaked aesthetic would be rather jarring when juxtaposed against the rest of the MCU, and its grotesque and terrifying creatures may be too much for younger audiences of the Marvel Studio movies. This makes it likely that Ali's Blade will be tamer by comparison to ensure that the movie remains relatively family friendly. Yet, while these differing production approaches will certainly impact the new Blade. So, let's see. Yeah, impact the new Blade movie. Perhaps the most significant Yet, while these different production approaches will certainly impact the new Blade movie, perhaps the most significant difference will be in Ali's interpretation of the Blade character. Compared to Snipes, the two actors cast in the role tout vastly different backgrounds and skill sets, as well as markedly dissimilar reputations for behavior exhibited while working on film and television productions. While Snipes began his movie career with some theatrical training attending the famed High School of Performing Arts in New York City, much of his focus since adolescence has been on various forms of martial arts. Snipes holds a fifth degree black belt in Shotokan karate and a second degree black belt in Hapkido. He also studied capoeira, kung fu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. Snipes brought physicality and brutality to Blade's role, which would be nearly impossible to replicate in the same manner. Unfortunately, Snipes' Blade movie franchises was ultimately brought down by the actor's alleged off-screen antics, with accusations of arguments with the production team, reportedly derailing the production. Snipes apparently refused to open his eyes for a scene in Blade Trinity, forcing the filmmakers to superimpose animated eyes onto his face in what has become an infamously ridiculous piece of cinema trivia. In contrast, what Ali's Blade might lack in physical intensity could be more than made up for by using his own acting prowess. Ali is an Oscar winning actor with Shakespearean training and a degree from NYU's Tisch School of the Performing Arts, as exemplified by his critically acclaimed performance as Cornell Cottonmouth Stokes in Luke Cage Season 1, among other things. Whether or not his movie ultimately bears any resemblance to Wesley Snipes' trilogy, Mahershala Ali's performance in the MCU Blade movie is likely to be more character driven than his predecessors, using the actor's considerable talents in what will hopefully be a less controversial production overall. See, they had to do that crowd. Throw that in there to try to diss Wesley. Look, do I feel the Blade's gonna be good? I think it's gonna be great. Mahershala Ali is a very great actor. I just feel, in my opinion, that I wish it was an R-rated movie. Disney is getting to me too soft. To me, they need to let some movies be R-rated, because some of those, you know, some of those, what we talked about, you know, the gruesomeness of the movies and stuff, that brings something to it, especially a character like Blade. Blade is something you would want to put R-rated too, but this is Disney's plan. So those two stories I wanted to give you guys. Let me know what you think about those two stories. The first one being the way it was. The season two of Power Book Force. I believe the first season was 4 stars. I believe the second season gonna be great too. I like some of the plot twists that they're trying to bring in to show the others, show the public. Also, with with the Mahershala Ali's Blade, I believe is going to be great. Um, you got to give Wesley Snipes credit. If it wasn't for Blade, we wouldn't have MCU. So shout out to Wesley Snipes, man. And thank you guys for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, share this, hit the notification bell to select all to receive upcoming notifications. And if y'all love what y'all hear, y'all can donate to the page by going to the Cash App, hitting that link, donating whatever your heart's desire. And now you guys can super chat and super thanks. Thank you guys for listening. We out. Deezy.